Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like that can easily be a reality considering the amount of items that need to be cleaned, items that need to be replaced every once in a while, and items that need overall some other form of maintenance to them. It is so easy to imagine that you could easily have 100 tasks to do in a day, but I don't want to be spending my day doing nothing but tasks. I mean, let me ask you, when's the last time you cleaned your handbags? Or when's the last time you cleaned the filter of your dryer? I'm sure some of you will say, oh, I cleaned it just last week, but I'm betting a lot of us will answer with, wait, you're supposed to clean those things? Or can't remember the last time I did those things. And so with all of that, I try to often consider when something should be added onto a schedule as a recurring task, or when it should just be left on its own for something that is just done once in a while. And I find that when you try to find the right balance of this, you're less likely to become overwhelmed with all the tasks, as you know that you're trying to do a little bit for those tasks that actually matter. Now, this video is not meant to be about showcasing different examples and telling you how often it should be on a schedule, what you should do to properly maintain it. Instead, I wanted to showcase how I interact with different examples and what I think about before adding it onto a schedule and how that might make our lives easier or perhaps even a bit more difficult. So here I showcase 6 such examples that I had to do at the time. And so now let's begin with the first example. Well, yesterday I vacuumed around the entire apartment and around the living room, and it dawned on me that it had probably been a couple of weeks since I last washed his pillow covers and the blankets. Now for myself, it helps to write down such tasks so I can at the end see an overview of, okay, when have I last done it, how often do I do it, and then from that I can use it to help build patterns. So with this example with the pillow covers, I thought it was not necessary to write on a schedule because I thought, oh, I'll be a bit more intuitive, I'll kind of know when it's time to clean it again. But from that example I can see that sometimes that works, but sometimes that doesn't work. And perhaps this would be better off to create this into a schedule after all. So I'll try to combine them with the vacuuming, and I can say that for now I can wash all of this every 6 weeks, and then later on I'll test that and see how that goes, and these things can always be adjusted. And make sure you close the zippers if you're going to be putting them in the washing machine. Finally finished drying, and I ironed the pillowcases, so now it's time to put them back on the couches and fold them. Okay, that's done, and now I've set myself a reminder to wash these 6 weeks later, and in that time I can always see whether that was enough time or too little time, and I can always adjust it. Doesn't really matter too much now. It's good that they're done, and there's a reminder to wash them later on in the future. Now here's another situation I've come across that might help to answer that question of when should you put something on a schedule. Well, I find that you do not have to put something on a schedule if you get cleaning reminders to do something and you're relatively good at following those instructions. So as for one example, I'm standing here in front of the Samsung dryer, and every few weeks I get this reminder to clean the dryer filter. So if I turn on the dryer, I get that reminder again that says clean filter before use. And each time after I've completed cleaning the filter of the dryer, I've added to an online website where I keep track of all these tasks, and I notice that I clean the filter every month to every 6 weeks. And so now I can see that it's been around that time since I've last cleaned the dryer filter again, and I keep getting that reminder every time I turn on the dryer, so I think it's time to do it again now. So you pop this thing open. So in examples like this where your dryer gives you a reminder to clean the dryer filter after every couple of washes, I find that it takes the guesswork out of it of when you should do it, and so that makes it easier to maintain. Alright, so now I finished cleaning that, and that means that I can put all these things back on there. That first task is done. So I wanted to discuss another situation of thinking about when you should put something on a schedule, and this is an example of something where you get a reminder to do something but you're not so good at listening at it, and that for me would be cleaning the Samsung filter. Whereas with this smart washing machine, it would give me reminders to clean the dryer filter, so I thought, oh great, I don't need to put it on a schedule anymore. I'll be reminded to do it. Well, I can see that it has been almost a year since I last did it, and that is way too infrequent, so somehow I've been ignoring those reminders. And I read online, and I think that it gives you a reminder after every couple of washes, and then after the 6th or 7th wash after you get the reminder, then it'll deactivate, and then it'll wait a certain amount of washes to get the reminder again, which is why if you have something like a Samsung washing machine, you might get that reminder for a few times and then suddenly you don't get any more. So I found that because that reminder disappears after a while, I sometimes seem to forget about it, thinking that I'll do it later, but then I end up not doing it. So as for that example, I'm now going to clean the washing machine filter, and then I'm going to add it to an app to remind me to do it every 3 months. So I'm going to start by cleaning the filter first. Okay, not the best angle, but first you want to open this part at the bottom. Okay, either you want to try to slightly lift up the washing machine, or you want to get a really thin tray and slide it underneath there, because a decent amount of water does leak out. Okay, after a few times of doing that, I've gotten all the water out, so now I can carefully pull that whole filter out, and I can tell you now, it is disgusting. Okay, this is why it's good to observe these things of how often you've done it, and then see if indeed it's possible for you just to follow the reminders that you see in the screen, or that maybe you should take an extra step and add it to some kind of schedule. Even this thing was found in there. This is not so nice. Okay, I'm gonna give this a rinse over the sink. But I will clean inside that filter area with a clean wet rag. Just a quick reminder that if you do add a bit of detergent or dish soap to it, that you want to make sure you rinse it off completely. That is looking a lot cleaner than it was before. Okay, so now I can place that back. Carefully move this again. And then with a towel, I'm just gonna remove all the water. Okay, feels good to have done that task. So don't be like me and either be better at listening to that reminder whenever you get on the screen, which I will definitely try to do. Or if, like me, you thought you would do it but you forgot to, and then the reminder just disappears, then add it to some kind of schedule, which I just did. Hopefully that'll help me to keep more on top of it, because usually I do stay quite on top of these things, but something like that you don't have to do as regularly as something like clean the dryer filter, it's easy to forget about those things. Now, speaking of getting those reminders, I found myself to be in the same situation when it comes to cleaning the drum filter, where with the old washing machine that did not have all these smart features, I used to as well add it to some kind of schedule to remind me to do it every couple of months. But since getting this washing machine that would give me those reminders, I again thought, oh, I don't need to add it to a schedule. I get reminded to do it, which is why it's sometimes easy to forget about it. And since I know that it's been quite some time since I've last run this machine on that program self-clean cycle, well, then I'm going to take this opportunity to do it again now. So if you want to run your washing machine on one of those deep clean programs, then you should make sure that there's nothing in there. So don't try to run it with some clothes in there at the same time. And you don't necessarily need to add in any kind of cleaning liquid or powder, but I'm just going to add in a tiny amount of some cleaning powder meant specifically for washing machines. And you can add that directly into the drum. Okay, Drum Clean Plus. I'm gonna choose that cycle. Now that's about to run, I'll add it to my schedule as well. and then I can clean up the rest of this, and then the whole washing machine and dryer tasks are all done for today. Okay, so here I am, and I've gathered almost all the tech devices that I could find. And so this is an example of something that I did not think I had to put on a schedule, because I just figured that I would do it once it starts to get dirty, but turns out that that is not the case. And I think that things like your iPad screen or your iPhone screen, you're a bit more prone to more frequently clean them because it's a lot more obvious when they're dirty, but things like your mouse or perhaps if you have a wireless keyboard, those aren't really such common things to think to clean. So I think to get better at cleaning all the tech devices, I'm going to actually add these things to a schedule and say, I just want to once every, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, gather all the tech devices, find a movie or a series to put in the background, and just get these all cleaned. So that's my plan for now. I'm just going to put something in the background. And then don't forget to even gather things like your earbuds or your AirPods. Alright, that's finally everything done. It feels so good when all your tech devices look clean and all sparkly again. So now what I'll do is add this task to this app where I keep all the tasks I use Todoist. So I'll start by just adding it every 3 months because I don't want it to be too frequent where it kind of feels like a burden. But with things like my iPhone or my iPad, I'll just kind of do that by itself whenever it looks a bit dirty and looks like it could use a clean. I wanted to showcase this duvet or bedsheet as another example of something that I don't think you necessarily have to put on a schedule to, let's say, help keep up with its cleaning schedule. And the main reason for that, I find, is that these kind of duvets, every year it's always different in terms of what time you want to change it. For example, this is a bit more of a summer blanket, and I did not feel the need to change this up until December, whereas some other years it might have been in October already. And then when it's time to switch the winter blanket back into the summer blanket, one year it might be March already, and another year it might not be until the end of May or something like that. So the way I like to maintain keeping this clean and giving them a wash once in a while is just every time that I need to switch those blankets from one to the other, I'll give it a wash. And to help me keep track of it, I also add the date of when I did it as a task to my online planner. That way it just helps me kind of see when I last did it and to kind of have a reference to see if maybe it is time to give them a wash again. But I already washed this thing a few days ago and it's been drying for a couple of days, so now I can fold it and put it back into its proper storage bag. Those are the different examples that I wanted to showcase on exploring that question of when should you add something as a recurring task onto some kind of schedule. Now, I am by no means perfect, and I'm sure that there are 100 different things that I'm missing or things that I'm not doing frequently enough, and after every kind of deep clean or a big declutter, there's always something new that you might have noticed. So if you're ever feeling a bit overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that we have to do or the amount of tasks that we could be doing, well, there are so many different things that you can do to simplify the process and to make it feel less overcomplicated. Now, the first priority that I would recommend focusing on is to try to build some kind of system around it. Now, this is definitely not an overnight process, and I've been working at it in a couple of years, and I still feel like it's a never-ending process, and you have to be able to adjust once in a while. So just like with an example of cleaning the filter of the washing machine, I ended up adding it as a recurring task onto my schedule, as a sort of backup reminder. And so once that task reminder appears on the washing machine, then at least in this way, I know that I have different options. Well, that does it for this video. I hope that you picked up some new ideas, and if you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, then I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. Besides that, I want to thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye.